Hi, it's Norman Kochnick here for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. I've got Chris Vernon, who's got his eyes on a better hat. Look, now it's the right type of hat, no logo problems. I mean, LA should be okay, but yeah. People, okay. All right, guys, we're here again. We've already got a few questions coming on, and the reality is that we've got a very exciting Big Bash game going on as we speak. The progressive score is, what is it? It's Sydney Thunder in basically an eliminator final. Or eight for 158 after their 20 overs, and the Brisbane Heat some 3 for 132 with a few overs left. It's going to be a close finish. We don't quite know who's going to do what there, but yeah, the Thunder look like, I mean, the Heat could well win that. We'll wait and see. We'll talk about that more. But the reality has been, there's been some announcements actually about that match too, regarding venues and the final, which will be at the Sydney Cricket Ground next Saturday, which I'm going to be there with bells on, which I'll cover. A partner is going to join me as well, so we'll be physically at the ground, hopefully. Well, we should be. There's no restrictions, although Perth has caused a bit of a wobble with that too. But we'll talk about that just in a very short while. So effectively, we're going to finish off, or we'll start with, but finish off with as well, the first test between Pakistan and South Africa, which Pakistan won quite convincingly, you could argue, which was, I wouldn't say it's a shock, but it was quite an impressive win, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, they've. It's always going to be tough going to that part of the world, isn't it, for a non-subcontinent side like South Africa? So I guess they were always going to be up against it. But no, I think Pakistan rallied a little bit. I think at one point South Africa looked like they might make a better game of it, but expertness came through in it, didn't they?
Well, the fact that it was in Karachi, I think even Pakistan feel like that's a foreign location for them. They haven't played there for so long, so yeah. It was an interesting venue anyway. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And, of course, India, England starting to get closer. I did a thing on English papers. I got a hold of a few of them, and they were basically fidgeting around with a few facts about Kohli and Joe Root, and Joe Root getting his 100th cap from Graham Thorpe, which is quite appropriate. He's one of the ones that are in that 100 club. Mm-hmm. As that was mentioned. All right, so that's the second point. The third point about the BBL, which I mentioned just a minute ago, a bit about the IP auction and your aspect of it there, Chris, about the fantasy league that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, and then the fourth point is around, and I've just forgotten it offhand. What was it? It was around our finalised so-called current world side.
Yep.
Which you've got up in nice pristine colours.
Yeah, I've got the board behind me. I've had to change location from that one, so it is here, and I've got it. So I'll make sure I'll wiggle about. We'll get it on at the end for sure.
And we've also got a fifth point that I'm going to bring up at some stage. I can see Nilakshi's already online. I won't bring it on just yet, but Nilakshi Sharma, our first fan guest for the show, is going to be here at about a short while down the track, and we'll just say a few things about what she knows. Probably around the third question she'll come in. So welcome to Nilakshi Sharma. She's actually in Assam in India. And I'm asking people who are on this chat now and who hear this to tell us where they are and if they want to be a part of it, and we'll actually get them on at some stage or another. And as already, Reggie V's asked a few questions about, he's looking forward to your hoodie, and he's asking about the England really expected to perform well after 6 days in isolation and then only 3 net sessions before the first test. Very good question. Although I just posted a video, if you saw Reggie V, of Ben Stokes and Jofra Archer bowling. I think they may have been bowling to Burns, actually. And they look pretty good to me. But, yeah, you're saying they've had 0 cricket. But, in fact, they've had a little bit now. I wouldn't discount them. But England are going to find it hard generally because of India's state. All right. Let's start with Pakistan, South Africa. A little bit more about that. I think that Pakistan impressed me. Their batting, certainly. Bowling was pretty good too, but I think that the way they held into the game was pretty good because South Africa certainly were fighting. They came back, didn't they?
Yeah, no, they. South Africa are always going to be a tough opposition. I think that they're struggling a little bit at the moment. I think that the quality of their test side is. And we weren't touching it too much, but I think that there's the political situation in South Africa in regard to who they can pick with the the quota system is influencing the sides. And there was a lot of talk around why AB de Villiers retired potentially. That had something to do with it. I don't know that for sure. That's just sort of on the gossip. But it's a very difficult situation, and it's a shame. And I understand why the quota system is there, and I think that it's good that it's being addressed. Of course, when we've discussed in length, the place for racism and things like that. It's just a shame, I guess, ultimately as a cricket fan, that is politics playing a part in South Africa putting their best side on the pitch, and I think that it probably is to a degree, and that's just a shame as a cricket fan, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a touchy subject to an extent, but look, you want your best team in the field, whether they're tall, short, fat or skinny. It doesn't really matter. The best players, they should be on the field, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the general thought of it. I would have to agree. But then again, it's probably not even based on the side. It's based on their upbringing, meaning what areas, what opportunities they get to even get to that level, which probably concerns me more. It's not about the quota system, who gets in. It's more how they get there that always is a concern, I would argue. Yeah, but that was a good test. The second test comes up on the 4th, you said to me earlier, Chris?
Yeah, in Rawalpindi. So I would assume South Africa look to bounce back. I think it's the problem they've got is the same problem that England will potentially have in India. It's just their spinners probably aren't quite as good as Pakistan or India's spinners will be. So that's always going to be the toughest. I saw that the debutant got a 5 for, the oldest debutant to get a 5 for since 1948. I think the Pakistan spinner is 34. So 1949, oldest debutant to get a 5 for on debut. So that's just a cool, fair play to him. I'm assuming that he'll probably end up playing 3 or 4 tests and probably never play again. He'll probably play this series. I doubt that he will get a tour overseas if they go to New Zealand or South Africa. So he might play a couple of series in Pakistan and that'll be his career. But I mean, not many people have a Test match 5 to sing about. So.
No, that's true. And who was that person from 48? Was it Ironmonger or was it someone else?
Nyman. So I was looking at it earlier, but I can't remember. Yeah, it was. I can check quickly. Nyman, I think his name is Nyman. So
okay. I mean, there was a thing in the press I saw on the media circles about someone who retired from Test cricket at 51. I've got his name. Yeah.
That must have been back in the day, though, in the WG Grace. That can't be any time recently, surely.
I tell you what, if you're a good spin bowler and you're 51, does it really matter? I think if you're good enough, you should be still. I mean, you could argue that Morley would probably still be able to, and even Shane Warne would probably take a few wickets or still floating around.
It's just the batting and the fielding and the fitness and the mental, your body sort of. Yeah, I'm sure that they could still bowl and take a few wickets, but it's the rest of the game that is such in high regard these days, isn't it? So.
But it's quite funny when you think about it. In any cricket side that I played in over the years, it wasn't obviously professional level, so we always had that overweight old guy who sort of was in his 50s, 60s, standing at first slip and doing nothing else. And I kind of missed that.
Who was it in the Sydney cricket team when I played against you?
No, we're not referring to that team at all. Okay, thank you very much. But especially the running between wickets. But no, the reality is that's kind of be nice. I reckon it'd be quite amusing if national sides were allowed one person who was chubby, overweight, and kind of a patriarch of the team, allowed him to play and had 10 fit young blokes. I reckon that'd be amusing.
Well, according to the Aussies and the Aussie sledging in the current series, that was Rishabh Pant, wasn't it? I think I saw a few comments about his build and his weight. So I'm glad that shut them up, as it were.
It's funny because I had that girl, not Nalakshi, who's on the show today, but another girl called Rapakshi do an interview for me, and she kept on referring to Rishabh Pant as Mr. Rishabh Pant. And I told her, why do you do that? She goes, I just want to be polite. And then she ended up calling him Rishabh Panther, which was quite clever, I thought. Anyway, all right. So, that series of South Africa and Pakistan, we know is into a second stage, as in second test on the 4th. But on the day after, of course, we're going to have a very big blockbuster, England versus India. And we were talking about Ben Stokes and Jofra Archer in the field there. Some questions already been thrown and on that. And quite frankly, I think it's going to be an exciting series. I'm expecting India to win. There hasn't been much discussion about who's in and out at this stage. It's probably a little bit too early.
No.
But there's a lot of talk about James Anderson and Stuart Broad having a merit to go together. But it may not happen. But the coach Silverwood hasn't mentioned what's going on. He has talked about rotation. So the fact that he mentioned it probably means that they are going to be separated. But interesting. Very interesting. What other thoughts have you got on that? Anything else you'd like to share?
There was a few comments we had after last time where someone accused me of being wrong about Broad and Anderson playing together and that they're the best two bowlers. And, I guess when you think about it, you'd say that Ashwin and Jadeja are two very good spinners for India, wouldn't you? They bowl well together. But if you turned up in April and played a test match on a green wicket at Headingley or Trent Bridge, India wouldn't pick them in the same team, would they? They'd pick one spinner. So it's the same argument. I know that they're the best two, but on an Indian wicket where the pitches are going to be slow and low or potentially suited to spin, they're not always going to be the best combination. I'm not saying they're not, and I think that they're our best two seamers, but same way when you pick one spinner or two spinners in a test match, they're just going to pick what they think's the best side for
that's
that wicket,
a fair point.
for that series.
But it's funny because with Jadeja, you could argue he can make the side as a batter.
Absolutely, but it's very rare when they came to England that they both played in the same team. And I think Ashwin actually got dropped on the last series. He certainly hasn't played a lot in England. And because although he's a brilliant bowler in certain conditions, he doesn't always suit a green swinging wicket. They pick 4 or 5 seamers. So it's the same argument here, is that if the pitches are going to suit spinners, they might pick 3 spinners and leave one of Broad or Anderson out. It's just a horses for courses pick. They're our best two seamers without a doubt, but conditions might not dictate that that's what they go with.
It's interesting you say that. I would argue that someone like Ashwin is not dropped in that circumstance, but they've picked an appropriate side for a condition. The term dropped implies someone's out of form as opposed to not being appropriate for a certain wicket. And I'm not knocking you for saying that, Chris, but it is an interesting concept because when a player's left out of a side, it doesn't necessarily mean they've been dropped. It's more of a matter of not appropriate or not too many of the one type of player, whatever it might be. So, even Agarwal during the Test series was certainly not dropped. Rohit Sharma came in and he was taken out of the side, but he quickly came back when it counted for the last day. So
I think that it's clever. Coaches know how to phrase. If Agarwal had got 300s in 200s in the first Test, he would have played. He would have not. Sharma wouldn't have come in for him, or Sharma would have come in for someone else. So the fact that Sharma came in for Agarwal suggested that he hadn't performed. So I know what you mean, and it is, of course, I agree with you. But at the same time, sometimes it's I think that the coaches don't like to use that word because of.
Well, you can say left out of the side or shuffles to allow this pace of a spin or whatever. Yeah, good point. All right. Anything else about the series? I mean, it looks pretty certain that Archer, Stokes, and Burns are in the side. I would argue those 3 are going to go straight into the side.
Yep.
And it's funny because this is a bit of an aside, but Denley is playing pretty well over in Australia with the BBL, and I think there's Milan here too. I think Milan's here, and Vince. They're all doing pretty well.
Vince had a good game yesterday, didn't he?
Oh God, he got 90 something, 97.
Yeah, we went Brisbane Heat have just won with an over to spare, so that's a shame.
Oh, that Brisbane Heat's won, have they?
Yeah.
But that just means Brisbane Heat play Perth Scorchers on Thursday to get
in the
that spot.
eliminator.
Well, quite frankly, it allows Sydney Sixers to be in a better position. The fact that they sit back and watch another team slog it out 2 days before the match, not very fair, I argue. I don't quite know how that works, but anyway, there's been a lot of commentary on our questions there about Justin Langer, and yes, we've been copping a lot of press about Justin Langer and the so-called dissension in the Australian camp and the fact that they may be over his hardline tactics and frictions occurring and there's players not liking what he's doing anymore and maybe consider him not to be what he is, coupled with Michael Clark's comments about Tim Payne coming out and talking. There seems to be a little bit of tension there, and I guess it's almost expected when you lose a series at home. There's going to be questions, but the friction is interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see what actually takes place, to be honest.
I think that it's always going to be when your team's winning, then it glosses over the cracks a little bit. But as soon as you start losing a series that you certainly are expected to win against India, then that's when the cracks sort of start showing, don't they? There's no doubt that Tim Payne is only in that side, and I know he's done well, but he's only in that side because Steve Smith got sacked as captain. You know, he wouldn't have played. I think he was going to get a job with Kookaburra or was going to retire from cricket, wasn't he? And so the fact that he's had a new career because of the Aussies ballsed up a bit with it or got caught ball tampering is fine, but there's no doubt that he's probably not good enough to be in that side. And I've heard a few things about Langer's coaching. I think that when you're playing well and winning games, then it's all rosy, isn't it? But as soon as you start losing games and people start complaining or things come out in the press, and so we'll just see. I mean, I think he's done a good job, and I don't know what other candidates there are for replace.
I mean, Andrew McDonald, they're saying in the press that he's been sought after by the players, and like he's going to him more for advice rather than to Langer, which is interesting. The other thing was Aaron Finch. I think I may have mentioned before. Aaron Finch has been in the media, not he himself, but talk about Aaron Finch coming back to the Australian Test side as a so-called Mike Brearley like replacement if needed as a captain. And really, he is a pretty good captain, and he's certainly been good in the short form of cricket, but that could be another result because he's a damn good player. He could easily be in the side.
He's never done it in Test cricket, and I think that he probably should have been given more of a chance for sure. But are you not weakening your side by just bringing someone into captain who might not be? Surely you have to pick your best side and then pick your captain.
Although I just mentioned Brearley, that's exactly what England did.
Well, yeah, but times have changed a little bit in that front up. That was back in the day where your keeper batted 9 or 10 and just was the best gloveman that you had. Whereas now it's if you can get 100 off 100 balls and he can kind of catch a cricket ball, then brilliant, get him in, sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Very, very true. All right, I think, and Chris, if you're going to be involved, and I think I put out a video, everyone, if you've seen it, about the run sheet, let's call it, for next week. We're going to have a so-called match eve discussion on the 4th. We've got likes of Simon as well, who could join us. Is he related to Bob Willis, or am I just making that up?
No, he's not. I don't believe he's related to Bob Willis. No.
It was a good story when I was talking about it. It sounded a good story. No. But so Simon, yourself, Chris, Monty's around. I'm actually meant to be having a discussion with Adam Hollyoak tomorrow night. And I've even had discussion with Alan Mullally as well. So there might be a few English exes coming around. Have you had a chance with Sam Billings to talk to him?
No, I haven't. I'll try my best, but I think he's obviously pretty busy at the moment. So.
No worries. And we're going to have a number of Indian press people as well, some of the ladies and men that are involved, and even the likes of Roshan Abasingh. There'll be quite a few. We're quite good. We're going to have lunch, tea, and post-session talks. We'll have a nice mix of people. I'm rather excited about that. It'll be good.
No, it'll be good. Especially when England are winning. I'll probably be online when England have a good session and not when we collapse.
So you say your connection will sort of be blurred when you're losing, is that right?
Absolutely, rightly so.
I'll get you on WhatsApp or something else if that's you're not going to do that easily. I'm sorry.
No.
All right, I'm pretty keen to get to that third stage actually about the BBL.
Yep.
We might bring Nalakshi on. Are you there, Alex? Let's see if you're there. I can see a screen. She may not be on TV just yet, but again, everyone, this is Nalakshi Sharma. She'll be coming on shortly. She is in Assam in India, and as I said, people who are watching, if you've got someone from various other states, put your name forward. We'll have a chat to you and perhaps get you involved. But I think Nalakshi's not aware that she's on, but that's okay. I might just take her off screen for the moment. Hang on. Okay. Removed from Streamlink is what you do. Oh, she just arrived. All right. Okay, I'll put her back on. Let's see if I can grab her again.
I think there's a slight delay, isn't there? So.
Okay. Hello, Nalakshi. Can you hear me? Nalakshi, you on? Can we hear you? Hello. She's shy. It's understandable. It's a bit difficult to work the microphone. Nalakshi, can you hear us? That's right. We'll let her go. She's probably anyway, when she's ready, she'll get on. She probably can see us, but she can't get on. That's right. All right. Now we'll just start with the Big Bash.
Yep.
The Big Bash League. Now I have something which I can read from. It's actually a media release that was released a bit earlier on in the day, and it goes through some of the aspects of it. This is not taken away from the result we've just had now. Nalakshi, can you hear us?
Nope.
Oh, we've lost her. She's having some problems. That's right. So the KFC Big Bash, of course, has confirmed Thursday's the Challenger, as it's calling it, final series match has been moved to Manuka Oval, which is in Canberra, which is close to Sydney, following today's announcement of a 5-day lockdown in Perth by the Western Australian government. So even though COVID is well and truly under control, Perth gets a bit jittery on occasions and never
one case is
it
one case? One case?
Yeah, no, it's not much in terms of cases, and I'd hardly see it affecting any ground. So the remaining BBL 10 final series matches are as follows. Sunday, which is today, we've heard about the January 31st game, which is today.
Yeah.
The knockout, Thunder versus Heat, which started today. And as you told earlier, Chris, the Brisbane Heat won, correct?
Yeah, seven wicket wins, so fairly comfortable, I guess, in the end, which is just a shame. You know, obviously there's a couple of there's a couple of English in both sides there. There's obviously Hales and Billings with the Thunder, and Denley and Lewis Gregory in with the Heat. So there's a good English representation, which is always nice to see, and that will cheer the Australians up, I'm sure.
And so that's now resolved. That means Heat's gone through, and they will go through to Thursday's match, Sydney time on February the 4th. That's called the Challenger. There are all these terms for it I don't quite get. But the Perth Scorchers will play the Brisbane Heat again at Manuka Oval in Canberra, not in Perth, which was the original plan. And that'll be at 7:40 p.m. Australian time, which would be 2:10 p.m. Indian time and various other times around the world. And the winner of that match between the Perth Scorchers and the Brisbane Heat will play the lucky team, I believe, the Sydney Sixers in their magenta or pink colour, and we'll actually have them playing at the SCG on Saturday, which I will attend, a partner will attend, and that's February the 6th at 7:40 p.m. our time, 2:10 p.m. Indian time, and various other times around the world. So that's going to be the Sixers versus the winner of Perth Scorchers and the Heat. And that's clearly, it's clearly an advantage for the Sydney Sixers. They're playing at home, Perth Scorchers and Brisbane Heat away from home ground. You would argue that the Sixers have got the advantage, but we'll see. And they talk about ticketing there. And the reality is they've got this certain person by the name of Alistair Dobson, who's the head of the Big Bash League, talks about the hard lockdown in WA, and he just talks about how he supports all governments across Australia in their efforts to manage the ongoing public health problem, and therefore the closure of Perth and the opening of Manuka Oval in Canberra allows that tournament to flourish, and they're very grateful for the enormous help. And look, having gone through a test series here in Australia and watched what happened there and the crowds we had, sometimes quarter full, sometimes half, it went sensationally well. I'm going to bring Nalakshi on this topic, see if she's ready to come on. Can you hear us, Nalakshi?
Yes.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good to see you.
We've got both Chris and myself here, and you're on, and thank you for coming from, you're in Assam, correct?
Yes, Assam, India.
Fantastic. It's good to have you on the program. All right, so we'll talk a bit more now. So in the Sydney Sixers lineup, Chris, who have we got in that team?
Well, another fine Englishman, James Vince, who was a rather controversial moment yesterday, I think. And I'm actually a Perth Scorchers fan. You know, I obviously had 2 winters in Perth playing over there, and had a few good days at the Wacker watching Brad Hogg and co when I was there. Sort of, they were dominating at the time. I think they got to 3 finals in a row or won it twice. It was a bit of a disappointment yesterday, I think, with AJ Ty. I think that he probably did that on purpose, although he'll never say anything, only he will know. But James Vince, what an innings to win your team a semi-final.
Yeah, I mean the English onslaught of players just shows how good your competition is in England. You've bred some very good T20 players.
Yeah, no, and the competitions like the BBL and the Big Bash, and the IPL have given these guys a good chance to go and demonstrate. And I think that someone like Jason Roy, I was reading today, and James Vince probably won't even get in an IPL side, which just shows how strong the IPL is. But I think that one of the sides might take a punt on a couple of those guys because they're very good players. And David Milan's obviously been out there with Hobart as well and done pretty well. So we've. I don't think even the most biased Indian or Australian cricket fan will say that England haven't dominated the white ball scene, the one-day cricket scene for a few years now. So, and obviously winning the World Cup is testament to that. So it should be a good World Cup this year, the 2020 World Cup this year. So I'm expecting us to have a very good run in that. When you add the likes of Stokes, Morgan, Archer, Butler into the mix with those guys, it's going to be very good.
So why do you think Morgan's not playing tests?
He hasn't for years. He played early on, played a few tests. I think he got a couple of test hundreds. I think one of them might be against him, actually. Just got found out. I think he got bounced, or same as almost like a Michael Bevan in a way. Just was dominated the white ball scene, but just struggled a bit in Test cricket. And I think Morgan's, to be honest, I think he's quite happy just going earning £100,000 for 6 weeks work in the IPL. We're going to do the same in the Big Bash, go and play in the T10 and live an easy life, really.
That's a fair point. Now, actually, have you got something you'd like to talk about? Did you do some homework? Did you prepare?
Yeah, I did.
So tell us, what do you want to say?
About the test match, India versus Australia.
Yeah, okay, that's good. You obviously watched that. Tell us about what your thoughts were about that.
Yeah, it was a historic win over Australia, and to bounce back from such a disaster first test and to come back winning the test series was quite remarkable.
It certainly was. You must have been excited when you were in Assam watching.
Yeah, I think all India people were celebrating.
Yeah, fair few were. In fact, when Natarajan came home, everybody was celebrating. In fact, he got his hair shaven off too, didn't he? I think. Did you see that?
Sorry?
Natarajan, when he came back to his hometown, he was lauded over. It was like he was a king of his hometown, and he was carried around.
From South India, or you're talking about Natarajan?
That's right.
Yeah, he's from South India.
Yeah, we had a great time.
No one is from Assam.
No one's played. So, tell me about any famous players from Assam that you've had.
Famous for there's one batsman from Assam. He's Rian Parag. He played through, I think, on behalf of Rajasthan Royals. And Steve Smith was the captain.
Ah, very good. Did you know him, Chris?
I remember seeing the name, and there's obviously a lot of the young guys come through the IPL, and it obviously the guys over there are much better suited to knowing who's who, compared to I am. So there's obviously a few young guys to look forward to this year in the IPL who I think could put a stamp on the competition a bit. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they go. Yeah.
Now, Nalakshi, one of the fans or the viewers watching is going to ask you a question and asks who you would like to see in the Indian team to play England. Who would you have in the team?
New player?
Well, not new, just who do you think the team will be? Name some players.
Shubham Gill.
Yeah.
Rishabh Pant. Then Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane. Then Shardul Thakur, Ashwin. Then
what about Washington?
Washington Sundar. And T. Natarajan is not playing, I think.
Well, that's a good question. I think Washington's in the squad. I think he's in the squad. I don't think
No,
Jadeja's in
Washington.
the squad. Though. I think Washington's in the
Nataraj
squad, but not.
and Jadeja, I think they are not in squad.
Yeah,
Aksar
Jadeja's not in the
Patel.
squad.
And there's one
Yeah,
Aksar.
that's a good name. Thank you, Lakshmi. Aksar Patel. I know very little about him. He's a left-arm bowler, orthodox spin.
Ishan Sharma.
Ishan Sharma as well. Very good. I'll be surprised. I'll be interested to see what Ishan Sharma plays because Bumrah's not necessarily 100%. So I'll be interested to see what happens there.
Am I right thinking it's Bumrah's first test on home soil? Am I right thinking he's never played a test match in India before, Jasprit Bumrah?
Is that right?
I'm sure I read that somewhere. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but...
Sorry, who are you talking about?
Jasprit Bumrah. I think he's played 16, 17 tests, but I don't think he's played at home yet, just because of injuries.
Yeah. Yeah, he has played IPL several times for Mumbai Indians, but maybe not a test series in his home ground.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I'm learning something here, guys. You're teaching me. I mean, I'm obviously, I know everything, of course, but not quite everything. No. All right. That's nice of you, Lakshmi. Thank you very much. Have you got anything else you'd like to say? Anything else?
What are your predictions for England versus India, Chris?
My predictions. I think India will win the series 2-1. I think that England will be, I think they'll compete, and I think it'll be closer than people think. I think that it will be, tough. I think that Root and Stokes will play a massive part, and I'm hopeful that England might be able to sneak a draw in a series, but, I think India will just have enough.
Yeah, England is a tough side, and also we can't take anything for granted. But I think they will put a good fight against India, and I think they might draw 1 or 2 matches, but ultimately India is going to win the series.
We'll see.
Well, I think she's right. I think she's right.
Have some good bowlers. They really have some good bowlers. Anderson, then Joffer Archer, and there's the lucky charm Sam Curran.
I don't think he'll play, to be honest. I think he might have been rested. I just don't see him being useful in those conditions. In England, when it swings is different, but I just think that they'll have better horses for courses picks than him this time.
Well, we're going to keep you tuned as to any releases of the team makeup. India seems to be liking to announce the team early, which is a great sign. I really like that. They didn't do it for the last test in Brisbane for good reason. It's having injuries, but they generally really go out of their way to announce the team early, which I'm liking that confidence. I really do. All right. So, anything else on the BBL? Pure predictions.
I'd like to see the Scorchers get to the final. As I said, I do like the Scorchers, but I guess after what happened yesterday, it'd be nice to see James Vince whack 100 against AJ Ty and win it. Potentially, it'd be nice. But I think that Six has obviously been one of the stronger sides. The Scorchers and the Sixers have been one of the best two sides in the competition, haven't they? So I guess the final between them would be probably the best result for the competition.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out exactly how we had this playoff and why two teams had to play 2 days out from the final. I know there was, I guess, there were equal scores. Is that what happened? Well, I'm not sure why, because I thought the top 4 get in, but
there was top 5 this time. I think that there was 2 qualifiers. I think the Brisbane Heat have won 2 games in the playoffs now, haven't they? They beat the Strikers. They went into the knockout or the qualifier to now go to the semi. It's all pretty complicated. I think the way the IPL do the finals is very good, and it seems that the Big Bash are just intent on trying to almost outdo the other competitions, with these silly new rules and the different finals. And
they've lost there a little bit, and the term challenger, whatever the terms are for these games, is becoming a bit confusing, as you said, for sure. Absolutely. All right. Now, actually, we're gonna thank you for coming on for this point. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before you leave? Because have you enjoyed your guest spot?
Not really.
You haven't enjoyed your guest
I
spot?
think she has enjoyed it. I think that she didn't have anything else to add.
That's true. So you have nothing else to add, but you did enjoy your time.
Yeah, I enjoyed my time.
Well, thank you for coming. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, so that was Nalakshi Sharma. She came on as a fan. I want other fans to join as well. When they send us their requests, we'll put them together and we'll allow people to come in. And we really appreciate her time. That was excellent. That was just saying it from the stream. Thank you, Nalakshi. Thank you very much. Well, that was hopefully a nice concept for people to experience. Someone who is watching who'd like to be a part of it can do so. Let us know before the next time we have our session, and we'll bring you in, and you can actually be a part of the session, which I think is a great. And actually, Nalakshi handled herself quite well. She was quite knowledgeable, wasn't she, Chris?
Yeah, no, definitely. No, it's nice to have a different opinion and a sort of a more local. Especially the IPL coming up. It'll be good to see what some tribalism, sort of some home, who your favourite teams are and who the players to see are and watch are, and go from there. So
I think it's a great idea. We can get a Mumbai Indian fan as opposed to a Rajasthan Royals fan. They can fight it out a little bit. Be good. All right, now we're moving on to the next point, which is the fourth in our list, and that's around the so-called current world team. Chris, over to you.
Yeah, we've got. I've got my board. I'm going to struggle. I'll try and get it if I can see. I've got it here, so I've changed locations. Can people see? We could do it being a bit higher. Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts, Norman? We penciled in the side the other day. Is there anyone we've missed or anyone that we think should be reconsidered for the side? We've got Warner.
Do you mean from any commentary we've had, as opposed to our own thoughts?
Yeah, just in general, if we've had time to reflect, or if there are any changes that will be made, because obviously we've got a few slots that are sort of.
Well, after having done several fan interviews on the streets of Sydney about Rishabh Pant, there's a lot of talk about him being the number one gun keeper. There was no mention of Quinton de Kock anywhere. So,
no, I mean, I'm still going to be opposite to you. I still think that de Kock gets it. I don't think Pant's done enough in his career yet to warrant that slot. I mean, as I said, he wasn't even in India's first Test side, and if he's that good, then he would get picked surely. And I'm not saying he isn't good, and he had a great series. I just think that he needs to do a little bit more before he can be considered to be in the world best side. I mean, he's and that's the only reason, if we sat here in episode 100 this time next year and he's got 8 Test hundreds and 1-2 series for India, we'll happily get him in. It's just, in my opinion, I don't think he's quite warranted that slot
so
just yet.
Hang on, 8 Test centuries and 2 winning victories based on his performance. That's a hell of a tall order for someone to have to reach, Chris.
No, well, I was just chucking numbers out, but if he proves it a little bit more, then yeah, he's definitely going to be a candidate for it. I just don't think he's quite been there, done it yet, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. All right, so do you want to rattle off the 11?
So we've got Warner, David Warner, Dean Elgar, which I think, I know that Simon Willis came on and we said about he'd have Pujara and Williamson opening, which I understand, but I don't think they've ever opened the batting in a Test match, or certainly a lot. So I think it's good to stick with the specialist positions. Otherwise, you could just put anyone in, couldn't you? Kane Williamson or Joe Root at 3. I'm torn still. I know that Williamson's had a great year, but his overseas record is nowhere near as good as Root. And I mean, look at Root last couple of weeks in Sri Lanka. I think I'm torn. I mean, what do you think?
I'd go Root at the moment.
Yeah, I'm happy to put Root in there as not just as a POM, but I think that's really tough because I think that Williamson should be in there.
But if he has a horrible India series, that might change. But we'll leave it.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. All right.
The only one you could argue that Root could open the batting because he's got a couple of Test hundreds opening. He's opened quite a bit for England, so I mean you could potentially argue that he could open over Elgar, and then that solves that problem. But
actually, you know what? Joe Root actually started as an opener, as far as I can.
Yeah, he got 180 at Lords against Australia in an Ashes Test. I think he's got a number of Test hundreds opening. So Maybe we can pencil him in instead of Elgar, and I think
that's interesting because Root didn't he open with Alistair Cook?
Yeah, when he started. Well,
That's
not
right.
when he immediately started, but it certainly his only part of his Test career proper was as an opening bat. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a fair bit of merit for that. I would kind of agree with that one. Maybe we put him in there and Williamson.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I reckon we'll make an executive call. We'll actually do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Overall.
So Elgar. We'll get
Put Root and then have Williamson as the first drop. That's a damn good idea. All right, then you got second drop. You got Coley.
Yeah. Steve Smith at 5.
Yeah.
I think those 2 slots pick themselves. Ben Stokes at 6. I don't think there's any debate.
No.
I don't think anyone comes close to number 6 for Ben Stokes. We've then got the Pant de Kock debate at 7. I think we'll just leave that. I think I don't think we're going to agree on that. So leave it at that. Ashwin at 8. Then we've got Cummings, Rabada, Anderson, 9, 10, 11 is what we had the other day. But
and that's pretty good, I think. We'll leave that as our final one. You might rattle it off in the bottom of the message of what this talk's all about. Quite a few questions coming through. Pujara is better than Root. Well, he certainly is well versed. You know, and the fact is that's a fair point. Coley with his daughter will play. Well, we know that. The other question that we had, which was a bit earlier, was around Root and Water opening. Reggie V said that's pretty good. So the reality is that the point that we were bringing up earlier about the Test series and around who was playing, we'll find out more about that as it comes along. But it looks pretty much like I think they're fairly settled sides, to be honest. I don't think there'll be much doubt as to who's going to play. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. All right.
Just interesting question when people say why do they have Pujara better than Root, and on what basis and what argument do they have him as better than Joe Root?
Well, they don't give it. Maybe that person who put that comment needs to say why he thinks that. But
we can look at the stats. I mean, if you want to just look at Test match stats, and I've got Pujara's here. Let's have a look on my screen. 81 tests, 6,000 runs at 48. So pretty. We're not talking bad by any stretch of the imagination. But I know that Joe Root will be better than that, and there's our argument to say that English Test match wickets as a top order batsman are harder to score runs than the subcontinent. Especially days 1 to 3 in India are pretty flat. Joe Root, 100. He'll be 100 Test matches in India, 8,200 runs at 49.5, with more Test hundreds. So, the stats would suggest that Roots are better. Pujara's had. Let's not forget that Pujara had a good series in Australia, but there was certainly a time a couple of years ago where he couldn't lay a bat on anything. I think he got dropped by India. He came to England and played county cricket here and didn't get a run. And I think that India left him out. So we all go through good patches, and that knock in at the Gabba was phenomenal. To get hit and to show the resilience. But I don't think that you can say he's a better player than Joe Root consistently over the long term. Yeah,
I think it's a fair point. He certainly is an important player to India, though. All right, so let's look at the other two set of questions we're coming through about bowling lineups. Having 3 spinners in either side, there's discussion around that, or having 3 pacers. That is, again, back to the question about Anderson, Broad, and Archer all in the same lineup. I don't think that's going to happen. 3 spinners, what do you reckon?
It depends how much they think Joe Root can bowl. He's proved time and time again that he's certainly a capable bowler. He's got back issues and doesn't bowl possibly as much as he should have done. It just depends on the wicket. They'll see the pitch a couple of days out and they'll make a call whether they think the best offers more as a spinner than another batsman. I think it's going to be a tough one. They'll just make a call. I think at the moment they've probably got 9 or 10 names penciled in for that Test regardless, and they'll make a judgment call at the end.
Agree.
It'd be interesting to see what you think of our India-England combined 11 would be.
after the series?
Well, no, well, even before the series, and would that change after the series? You know, how many slots would get changed?
So you're suggesting we put a team together now and then compare it to what happens after?
We could quickly. We've got a few minutes, I think. So yeah, we could just quickly go through a side. I don't have to write it down or anything, but we can go through a side quickly and see what people think if you want to.
Okay. Well, I mean, you want to go from openers down?
Yeah, can do.
Oh, gee. I mean, you'd have to say, gee, Shuman Gill's got to be one of the openers. Based on the way he's been playing.
I'd probably go Gill and Sharma. I think that's probably fair. In India, I think that if it was in the summer, if it's a Test match series in England, then I would probably not have two Indian opening bats. I think that Burns would probably get the nod, although I don't think he's, you know, only because Gill's would never have played in England before, and Sharma's overseas record is pretty average. So I'm happy. I think Gill and Sharma get the nod for an Indian Test series. Yeah, happy with that.
Okay, and then you'd have Pujara first drop.
Yeah, I think so.
Root
I
second.
think 3, 4, 5 is Pujara, Kohli, Root, or Pujara, Root, Kohli. I think that has to
Okay,
be.
yeah. All right.
I
like that.
6, Stokes.
So Rahane gets bumped. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't think that he gets in over. Okay. Well, I think that Root and Kohli definitely play.
Yeah.
So it's Pujara or Rahane, and I think Rahane's Test average in India isn't as good as his overseas record. So.
Isn't that unusual? It's true, and it's actually true, and I can't. Yeah, it's an interesting stat.
So I would probably have, if it was a series in England, I would probably have Rahane in over a Sharma or a Pujara potentially, because he's got Test 100 in England before.
All right, so you got Shuman Gill, Rohit Sharma, you got first drop Pujara, you got Kohli, say Root, Stokes, then
7 is the keeper, which is, well, I mean, probably Pant at the moment, I guess. Although I think Butler's not a million miles off. I think that I'm obviously a big Folkes fan, but he hasn't played. So, and I think Josh Butler in the last year, he's averaging nearly 60 in Test cricket. So, be interesting to see how he goes. But I think the fact that he's only playing the first Test, or probably Pant gets the nod. I'll give you it this time.
All right, and then you got the bowlers.
8, well, Ashwin.
Yeah.
Ashwin, definitely. I think that Bumrah and Anderson get in.
Yeah.
So they're 10, 11. So it's just a number 9. So, I mean, I would be going, if we're going a seamer, I think that it would be Archer for me. The extra pace, bounce, experience in India. I don't think. Come on. Right.
Okay, so what are you going to do now for us? You've got the world current team we've discussed earlier on the back behind on the board. We'll put that in the subject line below the messaging component of this particular video, and also the so-called combined side, if you don't mind, Chris.
Yeah, I'll type that. We can put that in there for sure.
Okay.
I don't know if I can do it at the moment in the comments. I can't.
Oh, you can. You probably could. Yeah. All right. We've gone through quite a few of the questions there. Some people are big fans of Butler. Raj Sonia was a big fan of Butler.
I think the good thing about the IPL and English guys doing well is that I think that a lot of the Indian locals and people have a lot of respect for some of the English guys that go out there and do well, don't they? So there's three English guys in the Royals team, as a probably first names on the team sheet, really. You've got Archer, Stokes and Butler, in terms of their best players. I know you've got a couple of others, but they're pretty much picked themselves as 3 of the 4 overseas slots. So obviously in Rajasthan there's a popular, the English are continuing obviously pretty popular. So, but in terms of that side, we've just gone through, it's probably 6 Indians, 5 English by the sounds of it, I think. So pretty balanced.
Pretty balanced.
Yeah.
That was well done. Now, there's someone asking me to bring Ashwin onto the channel. He has his own channel, of course, and he is operating throughout the series when he's actually playing, which is amazing. I could try. I've certainly could. I've got a few contacts through those networks. Be nice to be able to get Ashwin to talk to us from the inside the so-called bubble or COVID layer. Certainly. All right, we've done really well today, Chris. Thank you yet again. We've had our guest Nalakshi Sharma. We're going to have more guests on. I can't see him standing at the moment, but please let us know. I think one of the comments was around, let me have a look, there's a comment there about Ashwin, again, that's the major comment I'm trying to get through. So we'll certainly do that. And the view of Rohit Sharma as a leader, well, he certainly is a very handy vice captain. He's not a vice captain at the moment, Rahane is, but they've got 4 captains I mentioned before. Kohli leading the charge, followed by Rahane, and both Pujara and Rohit Sharma playing roles in the team as kind of leaders as such. All right, that's wonderful, guys. Thank you very much. The next session, we'll see whether we can squeeze in one before the Test series. We'll see. Otherwise, we'll definitely be a part of that Test series. Chris is going to be a part of it. He's already asking for wages, but we'll wait. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time. This is Norman Koshnik yet again. Thanks, Chris, on Eyes on Cricket. And I'm looking at my little list of subscribers at the moment. We seem to be very close to 10,000, which I'm very proud of. And it's due to you guys as supporters have supported us all throughout this. This is our 7th of the series episode, that is. And a lot of people I can see names are very commonly there. So please keep following us. We're going to keep delivering, and we enjoy the time together. This is Norman Koshnak from Eyes on Cricket. Thank you very much. With Norman Koshnak.